Okay, so you want to do Chinese style makeup, but you are 14 different shades of vanilla. You have no idea where to start. I've been doing it for a few years now and I've started to get a grasp of how to adapt it over to my facial features. Let me walk you through this sort of dreamy, romantic makeup look. The first thing to take into consideration with Chinese makeup is that the skin, the complexion is usually pretty matte. I have very naturally dry to dehydrated skin, which means that if I want to wear a matte foundation and have it look nice, I have to be really super duper hydrated underneath it. My answer for this is priming with a really good moisturizer and a glowy SPF. This is the SKIN1004 Hyaluronic Water Fit Sun Serum. I've gone through multiple of these. I just find it leaves a really beautiful finish to the skin, and it makes sure that my matte foundation looks nice throughout the day, which is essentially what a primer should do anyway. I like to use a semi-matte cushion rather than an entirely matte one. This one is new. It's the Wakemake Water Velvet Cover Cushion. I've heard really good things about this, but I'm not sure if it's my color. So we're going to discover this together. I have never seen a puff like this with these little perforations. Let's look at this foundation. My tip for applying cushion foundation, if you've never applied it before, is to press once into the cushion and then press off the excess on the lid before you go onto the skin. I think one of those little things that people get really bogged down in when it comes to East Asian makeup is accentuating the egg yolk cell. I think people are confused by it, they don't know why they do it, and they don't know why it doesn't come out the same when they do it. The biggest trick to this is you need to completely color correct the under eyes. You need to be going in over a blank canvas when you try to do that egg yolk cell contour, or it's just going to look muddy and it's not going to look clean and crisp like you need it to. Another tip is that anything I blend over the top of the cushion is being blended with a dry sponge. I find if I go in with like a damp beauty blender, the introduction of moisture into a base that hasn't had it to begin with can really make things look patchy and cakey, so I keep this dry when I'm working with cushion foundations. I don't use a specific concealer trick pretty much ever. I keep the same placement. I conceal under my eyes, this little triangle between my brows because I have a lot of surface redness that pops up through foundation. And then I do around the nose, and depending on the base, I'll sometimes do the corners of the mouth. I find it just helps brighten through the center of the face, but I don't pick such a light concealer shade that you're getting that weird highlight dissonance between the concealer and foundation either. Cream contour. This is Westman Atelier's Biscuit. I saw everyone else using this and I was like, surely it can't actually be worth it, but it is really beautiful. I like to use cream contour specifically on the outer perimeters of the face, though like a soft nose contour is a key part of a lot of these Chinese makeup looks. I think powder works much better for the area. I think it looks a lot more natural in real life. So I keep cream just where I need it, you know? And let's be so honest with one another. There is no point in me contouring my forehead when I have bangs. And then you're going to spray and set your face in that order. I get a lot of questions about this on TikTok. My principle behind it is that when you want a matte finish, spraying after everything else is actually counterintuitive, as setting spray has this habit of reactivating all the powders and melting them a little bit and softening that perfectly matte complexion you've spent, what, an hour building? So setting with setting spray after your creams but before your powders gives your foundation and those cream products sort of a longevity that they wouldn't otherwise have, and then going back over your base once the setting spray has dried with powder gives you an airbrushed finish. It's truly beautiful. When trying to figure out what eyeshadow formula you should use for a Chinese makeup look, I wouldn't necessarily reach for hyper pigmented formulas that are trickier to blend. They're great for drama, but not necessarily great for these really soft, diffused edges we see in Douyin and Chinese makeup. I would reach for something similar to this. This is the Clio Pro Eye Palette Airs. They are incredibly finely milled. They diffuse with a whisper. They make life incredibly easy for these looks. I'm going to mix a couple of these shades together, and then I'm going to buff this all over the lid and into the crease. I find that a lot of the Chinese makeup looks I've been seeing that are soft and hazy, start with a mid-tone shade that kind of just goes all over. From here, I'm going to take a rosy toned transition tone. This is going to be the very depth of my flesh tone, so something that matches this in depth but is like a light pink, and just buff out the very edge of the eye look. Now, because I don't want this to just be a pastel pink, I want to pull this a little bit more mauve. I'm going into Orchid Cloud from Clio, and I'm just going to mix these two shades together and focus them at the lash line. Do you see how easily these blend? From here, you want to take your transition tone. This is the lightest shade that you've put on the eyes, on more of like a little detail brush. And then I want you to run that all over the lash line and bring it up at the outer corner to meet the shape of the eyeshadow on the upper lid. I fear people overcomplicate the egg cell contour, especially if you're a beginner. I think the easiest way to do it is just to take like a brown that's very neutral, sort of something I would use as a neutral contour shade, on one of these little liner brushes, and just run that right along that little contour that appears on the eye. Now, I fear that people overcomplicate the egg cell contour. If you're getting into Chinese makeup as a beginner, there's so much out there. My tip is just to take like a little liner brush and sort of a neutral brown that's a couple of shades deeper than your skin tone, something that you would use almost at the depth of a contour, and I just smile slightly and run it along that little crease that shows up, that little pocket of fat that appears under the eyes when you smile. That's kind of the look, and that's kind of where I leave it. And now it's time for glitter. I'm going to start off the glitter with this beautifully intense duochromatic shimmer from Queen Cosmetics. This is Ethereal Being. Just look at this on the eyes. I like to take it from the inner corner and just is it not beautiful? Is she not stunning? With a much lighter hand, when I smile, I'm also just going to feather a tiny bit of this at the center of the lower lash line and then blend it out slightly with a finger. The camera is really not doing this justice, but I must inform you that this specific color has sort of a greeny blue duochrome flip. What more could you want? This is stunning, but I do know that in Chinese makeup, more textured glitters are quite popular. They add an aspect of interest to a look, a little bit more texture on an otherwise quite smooth eye look. So I'm introducing you to the Dasique Starlit liquid glitters. These are gorgeous. Just going to take it and I'm just going to dot it into our little shooting star highlight, and hopefully the camera will allow you to see what this brings to the look. Dark brown liquid liner. What I'm going to do is I'm almost going to bring it straight out from the eye rather than bring it up. I naturally have quite downturned eyes to begin with, so this just allows me to create a wing without cutting into that shape and without really having to fight this little hood too much. Back to a detail brush using a deeper cool toned brown. I'm just going to take that in the very outer third of the lower lash line, and it's just going to help balance how dark that liner is on the top lid. Do you see how that just helps balance out the two halves of the eye? Though this look is inherently going to be top heavy, we're going to add some lashes that will make it so that little bit of lash definition is just bringing a little bit of balance into the look. My favorite lashes in the whole world, like very close to being my favorite lashes in the whole world, I couldn't definitively make that call, but they're up there, are the Ivy Poppy May chunky clusters from their Manhwa lash collection. This is kind of what you want to look for when you're looking for sort of Douyin style lashes. You want something that has a very distinct spike to it. These are gorgeous. Let me put them on. Let's just have a moment for how big the difference is between lashes and no lashes. Lashes truly do make the look at times, especially when it comes to this style of makeup. One step I always want to make sure you do after you apply your lashes to make sure that they sit right is to take your tweezers or your fingers or whatever you're applying with and just go along and pinch your natural lash into the fake lashes so they sit as close to the lash line as possible. Take a cool toned contour and set the areas where you applied the creams on the perimeters of the face. And for the nose, I'm taking this interesting little brush and I'm circling the contour so that it's completely coated. And then we're going to go in with what is called a C-shaped contour, which means you contour your nose with purely little C's, starting in here and circling down to get more definition around this section of the nose. And I just like to use 2 at the very tip of the nose. And I don't do much more than that. I don't feel like my nose needs it. I feel like if you go too hard on the nose contour, it can veer into like stage makeup territory where it doesn't look good in real life. And I like my makeup to look good in real life. This type of brush is also really beautiful for nose contour because it just is super soft and feathery. This is a Too Cool for School brush. I got this in a set. I don't even know if this is still available. I find that the focus in Chinese makeup is so much on the eyes and the lips that the brows kind of, they get pushed to the back. They're filled in sometimes, not always, and sometimes they're just left completely fluffy and natural. I'm just going to perfect mine a little bit because it bothers me if I don't, but you do what works best for you. My brows have such a life of their own at times that they kind of just do what they want to do. These are heavily trimmed and shaved because they extend really far down naturally. I just can't deal with that on the daily anymore. I also find that if you're just getting into makeup and selecting the actual colors to put on your face is a little bit overwhelming, going for something within the same color family always helps. So I've got rosy cool tones on the eyes and I will go for rosy cool tones on the cheeks and lips to make life easy. This is the Dasique Violet Knit Blending Mood Cheek Palette. She is my baby. I'm going to start with this deepest shade. And the way I place my blush is I take it right below the pupil and above the tip of the nose. This stops it from dragging down the face, and I find it still like a really cute effect. The reason the complexion is kept so matte and so soft and so airbrushed is because a big thing in Chinese beauty is contrast. So a really glittery, shimmery highlight pops off of a matte complexion, but it might get lost if everything's dewy, and I think that's just such a good lesson for makeup artists in general. This blush is also going on the cheek, and I'm going to take a little bit and run it around the tip of the nose. Highlight. This is a milky white base with a pink reflect. It's that pink reflect that I'm reaching for that will make this look. So pick something with a base based off of your complexion. I'm just going to take this on the bridge of the nose, the tip, top of the lip, and then on the cheekbone. Two lip tints and a dream. I'm going to start with Peri Peri's I'm Pinkest. I'm going to use this as a base all over the lip. I will show you exactly how I do it. So this is a classic full application at first. Now once it's fully applied, I don't just leave it like this. I actually blend the edges with a finger and work it into the lip. Roman's Bare Fig, the love of my life, popped towards the center of the lip and just I'm going to perfect the shape of the lip with the Romand lip pencil in Fig Breeze. I find that doing so after I apply my lip tint means that I don't overline the lip. I'm not creating structure. I'm kind of just smoothing out rough edges. And then the last thing I want to add is the Glass Stain Color Gloss in Rose Finch, because I truly don't believe that I can be wearing too many lip products. I'm incredibly high maintenance. I do apologize. And this is the finished look. I love how this turned out. I hope if you try it, you feel really beautiful. It's a good beginner's Douyin makeup look. It doesn't require a lot of intricate blending, a lot of intricate glitter placement. It's just pretty. I love you all so much, and I will see you another time. Bye.